Welcome to a Monday, exciting summer. Everything's beautiful, everything's warm. We have today a very special guest in our preview of season 2 of Powerful Women Today Live. Joanna Benteau, career coach, expert, and overall incredible lady that's going to tell you how to land a job, understand the workplace, and what is going on right now, shifting by the day. So let's get to it.
Empowering women on a global scale. Welcome to Powerful Women Today with Carolina Billings. Powerful Women Today is on a mission of inclusion, rewriting his story to include her story, and empowering, raising, and amplifying women's voices with professional speaking, publishing, original podcasting, and web TV. And now here's your host, the founder of Powerful Women Today, Carolina Billings.
Welcome, everyone. Shifting power dynamics. If that doesn't get you excited, I don't know what does. Welcome, Joanna. You are a career coach, definitely an executive in the field of human resources and career progression. Welcome. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. This is going to be fun.
Yes, as one of our mentor experts, I am extremely excited to have this conversation with you. So what is happening in the workplace right now?
Yes, for sure. Well, my name is Joanna Benteau, and as you mentioned, I'm a career coach, and my company's Coach for Careers. And what I do is I work with professionals that are really struggling to figure out what their calling is and what their passion is and how to get that job, that next job. So really excited to be here. So yes, what's happening today? It's really incredible what's happening in our workplace today. For some of your viewers, you might already know this, but as of July 2021, 4 million Americans quit their jobs. And somebody has coined this as the Great Resignation. So it's something we really have never seen before, but it's quite fascinating when you look at how everything is, sort of all falling into place this way. And so what's caused this is really COVID. The fact that so many individuals are home where they're working or not working have really been able to have a time to take a breath and really sit back and reevaluate. Do I like my job? Do I like my company? Is this where I want to be for the next 3 to 5 years? So it's, just that alone has been really fascinating that we've seen. So go ahead. So as a result, we see people that they're not happy and they have left, and they've left for different reasons. They're obviously looking at their own work-life balance, work-life structure. Many employees have been working from home. And now that things are opening up, the employees are being called back to the office. And while sure, some of them work better and want to go back to an office, many of them are finding it very fulfilling, and they're able to do their job, if not better, working from home.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. Witnessing the complete restructuring of something that has been the case for centuries. For at least the last century, we understood the workplace to be like this, right? We go to an office, we work. There were some jobs that lend themselves to work remotely. They always have, especially with technology. A few companies did open up that to global talent acquisition. Other organizations spend millions and millions and millions developing campuses and developing the right culture that they wanted their employees to experience. And all of that has gone away like that. 18 months, and we no longer know what makes sense or what doesn't, what attracts and retains talent. So let's speak a little bit about that. There's always, buyer markets, seller markets, just like there's employers markets and employee markets. So right now we're seeing a definite shift, not only just technical, like technology wise, but also generational wise. So we were at that cross section, right? Getting that new workforce that wanted different than Generation X, the boomer generation. They were already in a different mindset. They were already spinning differently. And then we throw this in. So let's speak about a little bit about working from home. Nothing is good or bad. Everything there's good and bad about it, right?
Mhm.
Are you finding that you speak of the Great Resignation? Love it, right? Are you finding that the trend? What is the trend? Are employees now looking to work from home once being recalled, or are they looking, or the fact that they can now work remotely means that they got greater choice than before?
Absolutely. So just if we just go back a bit, even before COVID, before this, what we're seeing,
Life
the
change.
illness. But even before that, there was many employees that went to their employer and said, I really like to work from home. And as you said, there was that box. Everybody fit in that box, and employers said, no, there's no way. There was, of course, few companies, but not the majority. And I know I had previous workplaces too, where there was no way, even though it was conducive to work from home, they would not allow it. So yeah, things have changed. Absolutely. And so what I see as the trend is that many employees want to, at least if they can't work from home 5 days a week, at least have a hybrid model where it's 2 or 3 days a week. But what's happening is people that really want to work at home 5 days a week, they're saying, sorry, I want to work remotely. And they're willing to leave their job to find an employer that they can work remotely. And what's so interesting, Carolina, is that I talk to employers all day long, and the employers that are asking people to come back to the office are having problem finding people.
Really?
They are. Yes.
That is so interesting. So let's speak a little bit more about these. Before, so having spent many years in human resources, I have heard my fair share of requests for accommodations, for requests from parents having to, take their children to doctor appointments, asking, and I always felt horrible for people to come and ask to leave like 15 minutes early, right? So that they could attend their child's recital or soccer game, or, be a great parent, right? Or be the best parent they can. And have either other colleagues begin to go, well, why is she leaving 15 minutes? Or, you know what I mean? It was just that insular, icky culture. Like, let's face it, once you spend that much time, detached from the rest of the world, in the same, breathing the same air, I think something begins to happen to everyone's collective, right? Where we're not the most compassionate employers. You know what I mean? So
Right.
now that we're decentralizing power, this is what is happening. But there's some areas of concern. One, everybody focuses on technology, right? Oh, we need to, protect cyber, and they're all legitimate concerns. Like, they need to protect, their security. They need to protect, oh, are they working the time that they're working? Are they on the clock? Why can they not be reached? Like, there's a whole bunch of elements that now are coming in, your good old KPIs, right? But we have not updated that, or there wasn't training. There has not been training, or even to see how do you measure productivity? How do you measure all of these, from the leadership to the workforce, right? Are you finding that corporations are spending enough time on the human capital of this shift?
I feel that employers had to really ramp up quickly, obviously, because nobody anticipated this. It all happened so quickly. So employers had to ramp up quickly with obviously the technology to make sure that the files were shared and employees could do their work, sending laptops home, whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, what we are hearing is that the employees did a good job. They were very engaged in their work. The work got done. And they were, employees are probably happier because, yes, as you say, they got to maybe leave 15 minutes early to go to a recital. Maybe it was a virtual recital at this point, but they were able to have that flexibility. And, we're all adults. We're all in a workplace. We're professionals. We want to be treated. We want to be trusted that we're going to get the job done. So if we work a 15-minute earlier and leave 15 minutes, people want that flexibility that they really didn't have. To your great point, and I was in human resources as well, asking if you can leave early to attend something, right? And just they want the balance. And so many employees are trading off working more and less traveling, all that commuting that they don't have to do, or spending time with their family. So overall, their well-being and their family balance is much better. And you were talking about the shift in balance, and that's also what we're shift in power. And that's what we're seeing as well. As employees leave the workplace, we now see that the employers are not as in control of everything anymore, because there is going to be, or there is a shortage of labor. And so now employers are having to be in a position where I want to keep my employees happy, and I want to retain them, and I also want to attract employees that want to work for us. And so they definitely have to be a lot more flexible and willing to give, which we've never seen this anymore. I mean, how many people have actually left the city that they're living in and bought a house somewhere else? They have no intention of going back into the office. And so employers are having to look up and say, wait a second, we really do have to revisit this. And as to your point, make different accommodations and look at this world of remote and make it work.
That's right. And actually, there's two things you said that I want to build on. One is, employees are like, we gotta assume they're good people. You know what I mean? That's the number one rule of leadership. Assume that you've done your job and that you've hired right? So, but what feedback is coming back to is a bit of a pushback, where employees now that are working remotely, again, it's not, it's not like we're just shifting one thing. It's like everything is being rewritten, right? Which is, if you're a change agent, this is like heaven on earth, right? So it's exciting to just correct many things that were out of date. However, that being said, so let's look at, the shadow side of working from home. And Forbes did an article a couple of weeks ago now, that it said that 67% of employees who work from home say that their employer expects them to work longer and be on instantly be able to be reachable, and sometimes having a negative evaluation if that's not the case, without the employer realizing how everything else has shifted. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Well, there has to be core business hours that any employee works, so the employer can rely on that staff. And I think that's all but part of the communication, right? And making sure that those expectations are well communicated, and the expectations are, and it's going to be different for every employer. But as I've seen, is when employees are they have those shifts, whatever their working hours are, they are available on MS Teams or Slack or whatever it is. That's an expectation, right? Or if they're leaving for an appointment, for example, then they tell their employer, okay, I'm going to be away for 2 hours. I'm going to make up the time. So it is it's a balance.
That's a really good point. First of all, the employee has the responsibility for their own boundaries. If you're logging in, like if before your work started at 8, but you had to commute 45 minutes to get to work. And now because, the commute is from your bedroom to the kitchen table or to your home office, if you're logging in earlier, that is on you.
Absolutely.
That is not on the employer.
Yes.
If you set up, and as an entrepreneur, as a consultant, I have to tell you, at the beginning, you're giving it all you got, right? But after several years, you begin to say, you know what? The weekend's mine. Right? It's like, you know what? I don't answer emails on the weekends, but it's all in the communication, which is what you just said, in managing expectations. Make sure that people understand, okay, these are my business hours. I work from 9 to, 5, whatever the employer-employee agreement is, right? And it's even for mental health. We were just speaking about that, a couple of sessions ago, that, a lot of mental health experts suggest that employees reclaim their commute, right? That they reclaim a little bit of that me time. If it means driving to go get coffee, if it means walking around the block, right? Just have that mental shift from, okay, I am getting ready for work, right? And try to, have a clear understanding that if you are not going to be available, or if you are remote, right? Because you can still do a lot of work from your smartphones, right? What is the expectation from your employer, and what is the policy, right? And especially when I hear a lot of people on their smartphone conducting business calls at the grocery store, Or, anywhere public, like, yes, you're still on the clock. Yes, you're still answering and servicing, whatever responsibilities you've got. But what about privacy? You're not discussing
Mm,
business in a
mhm.
private setting, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
so there's so many elements that I feel that are being, like you said, rushed, right?
Mhm.
But if
Yes,
we
yes.
are developing hybrid strategies, these are things that we now need to go back and determine, what is fair. From the
Mhm.
headlines, not too long
Yes.
ago, there was a major tech company that, I don't know if it was an announcement, I can't quite recall, but they were considering deducting employees' pays 15% because now they get to work from home.
Mm, mhm. Yes, yeah, I've
What
heard
is
that.
that about?
Yeah, seems unfair, doesn't it? Yeah.
It
Yeah,
does, doesn't
for
it?
sure. Yeah. I think too, you and I both been in HR. We know all about HR policies and they have to be updated all the time. And especially for these situations, as you said, somebody using their cell phone in a grocery store talking about business, is that appropriate? And so now companies will have to add that. The other thing too, I wanted to say as far as a balance is, yes, we have the employer expectations, but too, employees are really, they care so much about their job. They give it all. They work extra hours, and it's up to the employee too to have that balance. I mean, how many employees do we know that have so much vacation time? They just keep forwarding it to the next year and they never take it. I mean, employees too have to take, as you say, boundaries. They have to take ownership for really making sure that it works for them too.
That's right. So it's really, we have to unlearn.
Hmm.
It sounds to me from even our conversation, right? We must unlearn a lot of the behavioral and a lot of the culture that we understood the workplace to be, right?
Hmm.
As
Yeah.
to the shift of power going from the employer to the employee and back. I do want to remind that all of our audience and listeners and all of our employers and all that not all positions lend themselves to work remotely, just like not every personality lends itself to work remotely. So there could be a shift. It could be a shift in performance. There could be a shift in equity, right? In equanimity between employees, that given the nature of their work, they still need to go back. Like if you're working in manufacturing, if you work in the right, um, you still have to go to work. You still have to, go to a physical location. Now, an office that is that only for knowledge workers that this revolution is happening, right? There's a lot of work that we need to do and a lot of discussion, which takes us back to the other side of the counter, right? So now you're an employee and you're not 100% sure, you're happy with the changes, be it stay at home, go back to work, be it a hybrid, cutting back your pay, you know, expectations, whatever it is. Could you you mentioned about 4 mistakes that job seekers
Hmm.
make. Could you
Hmm.
help us with that?
Absolutely. Well, we're hearing a lot about with this great resignation, nobody wants to work, nobody wants to work. And that's not the case at all. 60% of people that leave, they want to work. They want to get a good job. They want a job that they feel passionate about. They want to exceed expectations. They want to do it. They do want to do that. But in order to pivot that job search, if they do decide to leave where they are today, it's really important that they don't make these 4 mistakes, which is what I see all the time. So somebody decides, okay, not happy, I'm going to go leave my job. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to dust off my resume, or I'm going to update my resume, and I'm just going to start shooting it out to all these online job boards. And unfortunately, that's not the best way, because I get calls all the time about how that's not working. So one of the mistakes that job seekers make is, first of all, really getting clear on what it is that they're looking for. So not looking outside in terms of what are the jobs, looking more inside. What is it that they enjoy? What makes them tick? What are the activities that they want to spend majority of their day on? So that is the one mistake that I see a lot, and it's really takes some time to get clear on what it is. Once somebody gets clear, then they can really do an effective job search. Once we're clear on what it is, then we can brand ourselves. So this word brand is of course the a
Power
very
of a personal brand.
your personal brand, right? And people say, well, what exactly is that? That's really your professional experience, how you are showing yourself to the world, so to speak, or in front of employers. And somebody that has a brand, it's no different than Nike, it's no different than Starbucks, right? It's that brand recognition. And so once we know what we're clear on what it is, what we know our brand is, then we can effectively create a wonderful resume, cover letter, and a LinkedIn profile, because all those three documents are really important. And then the other mistake that I see is that that job seekers focus a lot, Carolina, on these job boards. The job boards being the jobs that are on LinkedIn, Indeed, Glassdoor, and even the jobs that are posted on company websites. And so they spend 95 to 100% of their job search on these boards, and it's really frustrating for them because often they don't hear back. We know I can get into all of this, but there's the ATS system, the applicant tracking system, and it's really hard to get through that. And so a lot of these job seekers come out with very few, unable to generate interviews and therefore land offers. So that's something that is also a big mistake. And then just really being prepared. So when they get that interview, so many are not prepared, unfortunately. I was in HR and I remember interviewing hundreds of candidates and really feeling badly for them because it was so obvious that they weren't prepared for the interview. So what does that mean, being prepared? That means determining what the questions are going to be and looking to see what experience and what accomplishments you have that fit with that job, and really show your value in that interview. This is your time to shine and not be shy. And Caroline, how many times have we heard someone say, but I'm bragging. I can't say that about myself. Well, this is your time to brag and to highlight, because if you don't, the next person that's being interviewed will.
That's right. And actually, I want to go back to social media. And I do want all applicants to know these. We, both of us, have several degrees in human resources and have practiced it from educational, organizations to corporate, Canada and corporate America. And I have to tell you, social media, the reason you may not be getting interviews is because of social media. Because human resources, we get bombarded every time there's a hiring. You're speaking of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of applicants. So the human resources professional needs to create some criteria to narrow it down, right? Whatever that is depends on the industry, depends on the company, depends on many things. Everybody checks social media. And we check for two things. And it's within the right of the corporation, it's public information that you, the individual, have voluntarily made public, right? So human resources professionals will check for two things. If you go into a site like LinkedIn, we want to know how you think. We want to know, that is what a personal brand means. That you are a thought leader, that you comment on articles that have to do with your industry or have to do with your profession, that you share articles, that when you share an article, don't just send off the article. Tell people what about it is that made it worthy of sharing. The same with commenting. If you're going to go through the trouble of putting a like, and I'm speaking LinkedIn, if you're going to go through the trouble of giving a like, give a synopsis of what is it, what do you think, right? And when you go to Facebook, which are more traditionally social media, same with Instagram, make sure that your privacy settings are adequate, that your personal is separate from your professional, because that could be a big reason why you're not getting interviews. So I remember, and this is a snippet of a personal anecdote. I remember when my son was a teenager, and he applied to be a camp counselor within one of the services that the Toronto Police offers. And we were interviewed, not just him, the entire family, the neighbors, and a gentleman came to our home and asked him to open up his laptop and randomly asked him to go find dates within his social media. And they wanted to see what his character, what his personality, what his contribution to the world was. So I am telling you, number one, before you update your resume, begin to build your personal brand, begin to clean up your social media for the job that you're after. If you're a marketing person, that's different than if you're an accountant, and all these things. Think of the companies and the industries that you want to get in. How do you wish for the world to see you? That is all happening before the interview. So this has been an incredible conversation. I know we're going to have many more on how to get to that interview, how to succeed at that interview, how to follow up, right? And most of the best jobs are not advertised.
80%.
What percentage?
80. The stats are 80% of the jobs that are in the hidden job market are not advertised. And that's another reason not to rely on those boards, because only 20% of the jobs are actually advertised. So you're missing out on a whole lot of jobs if you just focus on that.
So we are definitely going to have you back to talk about how to discover the jobs that are not advertised, how to go about it. So it's been an incredible conversation. I told you it would just fly by. So if you could please sign us off, give us some tips, some takeaways, and we are looking forward to seeing everyone back in September for a full season 2 of Powerful Women Today Live. So close us off.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for tuning in. And for any of you who are looking for something, don't give up hope. There's lots out there. Be in control of your job search. Be on top of it. Be proactive. You've got this. It's your time now. It really is. It's the best time, all I can say. So go for it.
Absolutely. So thank you, everyone. Until we see each other again.
Empowering women on a global scale. This has been Powerful Women Today with Carolina Billings. To learn more about how you can join and transform your life and the lives of women everywhere with professional speaking, publishing, podcasting, and web TV, visit powerfulwomentoday.com. Remember to subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, YouTube, or wherever you like to listen and watch your podcasts.